You're listening to the Create What You Speak podcast, where I invite you to come along with me as we shape our own reality together. My intention is to bring out the magic in you. Now let's get started.
Run away from the humdrum. We'll go to a place that is safe from greed, anger, and boredom. We'll dance and sing till sundown and feast with abandon. We'll sleep when the morning comes and we'll rise by the sound of the bird song.
My name is Sloan Fremont, and today I'm going to talk to you about the compound effect.
Vamos a la fiesta, anoche comienza y quiero gozar. El DJ comienza y mi naturaleza es ponerme a bailar, bailar, bailar. Vamos a bailar, bailar, bailar.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Create What You Speak podcast. I really hope you're all doing okay. I know this drudgery of staying home is just wearing on all of us, so I really hope you're doing what you can right now for yourself and just giving yourself a break when you need to. I know for me, my moods seem to really come and go out of nowhere. It's like 1 minute I'll be fine, and the next minute I'll be like pissed for no reason, or I'll want to cry like I did last night. And if you're experiencing something similar, I just want you to know you're not alone, and it's okay. It's okay to be easy on yourself, and it's okay to take it just one step at a time right now, right? I think it's important for all of us to remember that this will not last forever, and the sun will shine again on us very, very soon. So I just wanted to say that here at the beginning of the show. So let's get on to this week's topic of the compound effect. And so we're continuing our theme of everything is always working out for me. And this is our last episode on this topic this month, but I have a feeling that this theme is going to come up in other areas throughout the year. But so I had the idea for this show based on how I changed my workout routine as a result of being home all the time now. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. So obviously, like the rest of you, my workout routine has changed greatly from being home all the time. If you've listened to the show for a while, you know I love dancing. I used to dance a lot, several nights a week, and then I would do Zumba, hot yoga, all that kind of stuff. And now that I'm home, of course, not doing those things, I've been exploring other ways to work out. So it started, I think, in December and went through like February. I was in a course called Body Built by Love. And one of the things that the creator Steph talked about through that course was doing these quick 10-minute workouts every day. And as a side note, if you're not familiar with Body by Love or you didn't listen to the show back then, I talk about this, like I said, on the episodes from like December 2019 through February of this year. The program had such a huge impact on me. I think I talked about it like every episode. But I did an episode or an interview with the creator Steph Hindle back. It was episode 79 from season 1, and the basic premise of the program is that it's really about changing your body, but learning how to change it from the inside out by loving yourself into changing your body, not by guilt and shame that most, programs tend to sway towards. So, if you want to know more about that, you can go back and listen to those episodes. So I'm not going to get into all of that right now for this episode, but, okay, so we talked about in Body Built by Love, these quick 10-minute workouts. And she talked about it a lot. And she had talked about how it can be just as effective as doing longer ones if you're doing, exercise that you enjoy, if you're doing, essentially, quote, the right. And that's not the right workout. And that's not really the right word for it. But it was this whole premise of a 10-minute workout. At first I was like, I don't think so. Like, I squawked at this big time because I had been under this belief for so long that in order for a workout to be effective, it had to be, X number of minutes, X number of times a week, right? And that was usually for me like an hour workout 5 to 6 times a week minimum. And I would be very religious with checking my Fitbit and getting those steps in or getting those minutes in or getting those calories in or whatever. And even when I was doing that, like, I noticed my body wasn't really changing. And also, if I didn't do it, like if I didn't do the workouts I thought I did, or the number of minutes I thought I should, or the amount of steps or calories burned or whatever, I'd go through this whole thing of like beating myself up and all the reasons why I was wrong and how I could never succeed and how I just totally ruined all of my progress, all that kind of stuff. And oh my God, as a result of that program, like I'm here to tell you, like things have completely changed for me now. Like I don't have those beliefs anymore. Like I don't track anything. Numbers to me and data points are irrelevant. Like that is a no for me. Like it doesn't even like appeal to me, or even, I probably couldn't even make myself do that because it's so like, to me, the thought of that is just, I'm so on the other end of the spectrum of that. And what I really go for now is how I feel, like what feels good to me. And so these 10 minutes work, when I was thinking about this again, the 10-minute workouts really, that really felt good to me, like to be able to do that, especially just in my little office here throughout the day. And so what I realized as I went through the Body Built by Love, but even as I've come out of that and just as tuning in more to myself and what I want, that I don't have to have those old beliefs, right? I don't have to believe that I have to track the numbers or that I have to do workouts, X number of workouts, X number of minutes. That doesn't have to be true for me. And as long as I open myself up to the idea and decide how it's going to go, then that's how it's going to go for me, right? And the same is for you. So what I really focus on right now is how it feels. Like, what do I feel like doing and what sounds good to me? So again, I really like this idea of doing these 10-minute workouts where you're doing, whatever the exercise is for 10 minutes and not really having a break and just going for it, right? In those 10 minutes. And before the quarantine, I wanted to incorporate this into my day. And since I was already working at home, it was just, it wasn't that big of a change for me. But my intent was to do one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and then go on my normal routine of Zumba or dancing or yoga or whatever I was doing. But back then, for whatever reason, I didn't do that. I just didn't incorporate it. I don't know. It was on my list of things. I just never got to it. And so now that I'm home, like most of you, I've made these 10-minute workouts a priority, and I do one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And I'm noticing after a few weeks of this, I can tell a difference in my body. Like I can tell a difference in how toned my body is becoming. And so here's why I wanted to talk to you about this week, because this idea of the compound effect, just this idea when we choose these small things that we do daily in our life, how they get to work for us. And that goes really for anything from, like I mentioned, workouts to any daily habit you have, even with the thoughts that you think. And so let's talk about this a little more. And let's talk about what the compound effect, like what is it and why does it actually matter? So Steph has this definition on her website of the compound effect, which I love. And she defines it as the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. And she also says that your current reality is an outcome of the little, seemingly harmless decisions that you do every day. And they've added up to your waistline, to your energy, to your health level, and all that kind of stuff. And I love that. I think it's a very clear, very easy way to picture it. And so here's why it matters. I think it's really easy to talk ourselves into that if we're going to make any changes in our lives, that we have to make these grand sweeping changes all at once. And because we have that belief, I think that's really easy for us to talk ourselves out of making changes because we think it's going to be too hard, or it's going to be too much, or it's going to be too big, or require too much effort, or this, or too much that, or whatever. And when I moved, I was thinking about this as I was writing the notes for the show. Like when I moved here to Nashville, when I just completely changed my life and, quit my job and sold my house and moved here, I didn't talk about it with a lot of people. And so on the outside, it may have looked like I just randomly decided one day to pack up and move to Nashville. But the reality was that there were so many small steps that led up to that. From me deciding to actually do it, like the decision point to do it, and finding the job and listing my house and, hiring movers and getting in the car and driving to Nashville. And then, the thousands of small steps in between, thousands of small steps. All of those things added up to me actually sitting here today, 3 years later, and talking to you on this podcast. And I think we often diminish those small things that we do or even that we don't do. And we think that they're not important in the grand scheme of things because they're so small. But in reality, that's the farthest from the truth, because those small steps every day, whether you do them or you don't do them, whatever, however that applies to you, that's what's going to get you or not get you where you want to go. And so we talk about this all the time on here. In order to change our lives, we have to start with our thoughts. That's where when we start changing ourselves on the inside, that's when we start to see the results on the outside. And so just like the 10-minute workouts, a few times a day, they seem like no big deal. But in fact, I think also they seem so insignificant that we probably, I know for me, like I didn't even bother doing them. That was probably one of the reasons why in the beginning I didn't do them, because I just didn't think that they were that big of a deal. I didn't think they were going to work. But I can see now, I've been doing it over, a couple weeks now, and I can see the difference. Like I can feel the difference. I can tell the difference in my body. And so then this is where the magic is, right? This is that impact point where those small choices that we make or don't make every day that seem insignificant and so insignificant that we don't even think we need to do them. When we start shifting and start doing those things, that's when we can start to see a difference in our lives. And so I wanted to talk about this today, and especially on this theme of everything is always working out for me, because this compound effect applies the same way with your thoughts. So we may think that, having these thoughts where we're beating ourselves up or being hard on ourselves, it's not a big deal, or it's not worth changing, or it's not even, maybe you don't even notice it, right? But when we do that to ourselves hour after hour, day after day, and week after week, month after month, and year after year, there is no choice but for it to add up on us, like affect us, right? To impact us. And that can be in any number of ways, right? It can come out in your weight. It can come out in sickness or some sort of, your body giving you some sort of message, or it can come out in the relationships you do or don't have, or the job that you do or don't have, right? Like it's so many ways. It's so many ways. Pick your choice, right? Because it could be anything. But these things add up and they affect us and they impact us on the outside because we have so much going on the inside that's hurting us. So we can start to shift that momentum and start to move it in another direction by choosing to think opposite thoughts, right? So just like the workouts where I didn't think they would matter, and now I can see over time that they do, the 10-minute workouts, right? The same with our thoughts. If we start to shift those thoughts just a little bit at a time into a direction that feels better, even if it's just a few times a day, that's all it takes to get that momentum in the right direction. And even those small changes, even maybe that's all you can do right now. And that's just fine. I can remember that's where I started back when I changed my life. I mean, that's what I started. I would actually tell myself, well, I'll allow myself to feel good for 5 minutes and believe in this. And then I'll go back to feeling shitty. But I'm going to give myself this 5 minutes, right? To feel good and feel what this would feel like. And now thinking back on that I'm like, why didn't I want to let myself feel good? Like, why wouldn't I let myself experience that? Right? Like, but that's just where I was back then. And that's fine. That's where I was. Like that's what I had to go through to get where I am. But and I'm telling you that story to point out that a little bit at a time is okay. Like, you don't have to go from, one extreme to the other. And that's not even possible for most people because it's just too far of a leap. But those small incremental changes that we can make daily, that's where if we keep doing this over and over, that's where we start to see that compound effect will really take hold and things will start to change. And so it's like with our thoughts, we turn the curve, right? From having our thoughts be negative, 51% of the time, where we start to turn that curve where we drop down to, okay, it's only 49% of the time, right? And we're more positive more often than we're negative. And we start to feel better as a result. And we talked about this all the time in Body Built by Love. And I have to use this example because I love it when Steph would give it. It's just like a baby learning to walk or potty training a puppy, right? We just keep, in those scenarios, they just keep doing it over and over again until they get it, right? Like in both of the cases, like you don't have a baby who tries to walk a few times and then they don't get it and we say, well, I guess walking just isn't for you, right? We don't do that, right? Or like with potty training a puppy, like we don't just have them go outside and try a few times, and if they don't get it, say, well, I guess you just can't get it, so I'm going to have to deal with cleaning up after you the rest of your life, right? I mean, no, we would never put up with a dog or a dog going to the bathroom in the house all the time just because we decided they simply couldn't get being potty trained. No, it's just not that's a no for both of those, right? So why do we do this with ourselves when with the things that we want, right? Like if we want to change our thoughts and if we don't get it on the first try or the first few tries, then it's just like, we just give up. It's just, I can't do it, right? I can't. No, I mean, that's not true. Like we often give up on ourselves too easy. And in order to make lasting change on anything in our life, it's making the decision over and over and over again, over and over and over again until we get it. And it's like, it's being relentless with those thoughts. And it's just deciding, just like deciding that a baby is going to walk or deciding that a puppy is going to be potty trained, right? Like it's a given. Like we don't even question it, right? So the same goes for our thoughts or our changing our thoughts or changing, whatever the reality is that we want. It's a given. If you want it, it's a given for you. It's just deciding and making sure that you keep deciding every day that you get to go, that gets to be your reality and that you're working towards it. So one thing that's helped me with this, and I want to give this example, to tie this compound effect concept with our thoughts together. So I've been going through something recently so the guy, I've told you guys about the guy that I went out with in January. So it was like, we met in January of this year. And he was the person I showed up on the date with, like 100% being myself. And I've talked about this story. You can go back and listen to the earlier episodes about my experience with that. But just how amazing that was to show up as myself and how well the date went. And here we are still, together. And, I really like him. And so having that experience of doing that was life-changing for me. And so, and most of you know this, it's new for me because I haven't been in a relationship for so long, but, there's only certain things you're going to learn about yourself when you're in a relationship, right? Like you learn things about yourself when you're single, but when you're in a relationship with someone, they show you things that you learn, or there's things that you deal with that you would only deal with in a relationship, right? And so there's things that come up over time with him, right? Where I'm, I start to freak out a little, or I start to like last weekend, usually we spend the weekends together, and last weekend we didn't have plans, and that made me uncomfortable and I didn't like it. And I was like, well, what's going on here? Why are, blah, 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 whatever the stories that were wanting to come up. And so I made a decision that there just became, I don't know, something clicked inside of me. And I made a decision where, and I think I talked about this on the show, where I was in a new beginning with him. Things were just, I was in a new beginning, but I was also, where I was like, I get to win. Like I get to have what I want. Like I'm tired of this 5 minutes of feeling good and, the rest of the time feeling like shit, right? Like I get to have this. Like I choose this. I decide this is for me. And so when those thoughts are coming up from time to time, and some days it's more than time to time, right? It's like that last weekend, it felt like all the time. But when those thoughts come up where it's like my fear is just screaming at me, right? Like it's just screaming and I cannot get it to shut up. What's really started to help me is where I start to look at those things, and we talked about this last week about distancing ourselves from our thoughts. And what I actually say to myself now when those come up is, that's just not me anymore. Those thoughts just aren't me. Yeah, they used to be there and they were there for a long time, but I'm different now and they're just not me. And that's really helped me to stop those thoughts, stop the momentum on those thoughts. And what I'm noticing is time after time again, when I choose to tell myself those thoughts just aren't me anymore, that fear and that screaming is lessening. And so again, it's that compound effect where decisions over and over and over and over again to tell myself those thoughts just aren't me. And instead I choose to believe this. I choose to believe I can have this. I choose to believe that, that there's more possibilities than I can see in this moment, right? I'm choosing over and over again. I pick myself. I win. I get to win. I choose me. And when I choose the fear and when I choose all those stories that don't feel good, I'm not choosing myself, and that's just not me anymore, and I refuse to do it. And so I wanted to share that example because that's something I'm using in my own life, and it's been very helpful. And I'm finding, again, with like the 10-minute workouts, I'm seeing results. I'm feeling better. And the thoughts aren't as rampant. They're not just taking hold, right? Like there's a difference. I can feel a change within myself, and I can feel a change within even the thoughts like lessening, and it's helping. So that's why I felt like this topic was important this week. It's something that I think we can all apply in our lives. We can use it in so many ways, from thoughts to workouts to, I don't know, anything you choose in your life, right? So this week, as you move forward, I'd like you to consider that in your own life. Consider the compound effect and where you can apply it. Right? You can apply it with your thoughts. Like I said, like how I chose to believe that that's just not me anymore, over and over and over again. Or you can pick an area in your life, like it's maybe, like I said, like the workouts, or like I don't know, something as simple as deciding you want to wash your face every night before you go to bed, or you deciding that you want to incorporate meditation or journaling, whatever it is. Once you start to look at that in your own life and what comes up for you, like what sounds good to you, what feels good to you, to start thinking about in this way, and pick it, start changing something, doing something small for yourself, and see how you can apply it in your life. And whatever you want to move towards, like try applying the small steps, or those, try applying changes in small steps, or changes in small steps towards your goals, and just see where that takes you. And so as I close out this week, I just want to remind you that the little things we do matter, and the little things that we don't do also matter. So from the thoughts you think to the habits you have daily, all of these things add up and they matter. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, the compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small choices. And so your reality is based on that, right? Your reality is based on those small choices that you make or don't make every day. And so if you want to see change in your life, you can start making those. I'm going to tell you some of the small changes I made, or some of the thoughts even that I changed, seem so insignificant, but they add up over time, and those small changes take you in the direction that you want to go. And when you do that over and over again, this is how you start to see real and lasting change in your life. So this week, that's your assignment. See where you can use the compound effect to positively benefit your own life. All right, so I'm going to talk about songs I picked for this week and then close this out. So intro song. All right. This is called Playa Grande by Sophie Tucker, Tukker. I love the song. It's really fun to me. She talks about let's go to the party, talking about the DJ, and then let's dance. We're going to have a party. I'm going to dance until my shoes ask me to stop. So I take off my shoes, dancing into a groove, and all my clothes fall off. I love the song. Like I said, it's so fun. Vamos a bailar. Let's go dance. And that's how I feel. Like I can't wait to get back out there and dance again. And that's how I feel like it's going to be. Like I'm going to dance until my clothes fall off, because I'm so ready to get back out there and dance. So intro song, Playa Grande, Sophie Tucker. And outro song is Left Hand Free by Alt J. I don't know. I love this song. Anytime I hear the song, it's still one of those songs where I'm like, I just got to hear the song. Like when it comes on, I'm like, I forgot how much I love the song. And so I actually looked up the meaning to this song, because I didn't know. And who knows what any of these songs mean at any given time. But what I found was that the band did a interview with The Guardian over in the UK. And so they were talking about how it was like basically on a joke. Like they say things in the song what they don't normally say. And they were trying to, like, they talked about making the drums as cliched as possible and really none of their personality in it. And I think it was the label that wanted them to have a different song for their single, because one of the songs that they had, they didn't think was going to be a big hit. And so the song was just like written in 20 minutes and it's like basically a joke, and ended up becoming really like a really big hit for them. So anyway, that was just a fun little story about that. But I love the song Left Hand Free by LJ. All right, that's it for this week on our topic of the compound effect. I would love to know what you think. If you have any questions, if you'd like me to talk about anything else, I would love to hear from you. You can email me, sloanfremont@gmail.com. My website is sloanfremont.com, and you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. There's one other one, but I can't remember. Anyway, Sloan Fremont. And if you like the podcast, please remember, subscribe, rate, review, tell all your friends so more people can find me. Thanks for listening this week, and remember, everything is always working out for you.
Ain't shady, baby, I'm hot like the prodigal son. Big up Bartolini, meeny, money, mo, and flower, you're the chosen one.